today, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah, today I will be, I'll wait a second. We can all check our phones. I leave mine in the car when I come in here. Today I will be playing a piece called Flower Drum Dance, and it is a piece from China, from a province that had a lot of disaster, flooding, and people lost their, probably their crops, that were their means of survival, and so they turned to music. And this is the piece of music that they would sing and get, paid for entertaining people. And it's adapted by Chinese-Canadian composer Hope Lee.
Thank you, Barbara. Good morning.
Good morning.
My name is Eleanor. I am a woman with white hair, glasses, a purple shirt, and black pants. Welcome to all of you for joining our Sunday morning gathering of Summit Unitarian Universalist Fellowship today. Whether you are in the sanctuary with us or joining online, we are so glad you are worshiping with us today. Summit is a religious liberal community bound together by shared principles and values drawn from world's religions, humanist teachings, nature, science, philosophy, and personal practices. We aspire to be a religion of love and inclusion. The mission of Summit is to commit ourselves to building a more compassionate, just, and sustainable world. This year happens to be the bicentennial of the formal establishment of Unitarians in the United States. If you are new to Unitarian Universalism or to Summit and would like to know more about us, we invite you to go to our website, summituuf.org, or talk to any of us wearing name tags today. Do we have any announcements today? Eileen.
Good morning. On behalf of the auction committee, I'd like to invite 4 of you today to join me in the library at noon. We have some letters to address to businesses. We've sent 40 out already, and we have maybe 60 to go. So if 4 people come, you do about 10 or 15 envelopes, easy conversation, and have some fun and get some donations for our auction, which is coming up in the fall. But you can't start too soon, so thank you for your help.
Thank you. We acknowledge that our fellowship resides on unceded Kumeyaay land. The Kumeyaay have lived on this land for 10,000 years, and it is still their home today. We recognize the abusive history of colonization in California and are mindful of our duty to act responsibly from our position of power. Our chalice lighting today comes from David C. Pohl. We come to this time and this place to rediscover the wondrous gift of freed religious community, to renew the faith in the holiness, goodness, and beauty of life, to reaffirm the way of the open mind and the full heart, to rekindle the flame of memory and hope, and to rekindle the vision of an earth made fair where all her people one. Please stand as you are willing and able to join us for the congregational hymn and aspiration. Spirit of this fellowship, may the quest for truth be its sacrament and service be its prayer, to dwell together in peace, to seek knowledge in freedom, and to help one another in fellowship. This is our aspiration.
Good morning, everyone. I am the Reverend Casey Marie Pandell. It is my honor and joy to be the minister here at Summit Unitarian Universalist. Whether it is your first visit or your 5,000th visit, you are whole, you are holy, you are loved, and you are so welcome here. I am a 35-year-old woman with short purple-ish hair, wearing a blue dress with flowers and a black stole with the phases of the moon on it. Our reading today are words from Scott W. Alexander entitled, "We Need a Religion." In a world with so much hatred and violence, we need a religion that proclaims the inherent worth and dignity of every person. In a world with so much brutality and fear, we need a religion that seeks justice, equity, and compassion in human relations. In a world with so many persons abused and neglected, we need a religion that calls us to accept one another and encourage one another to spiritual growth. In a world with so much dogmatism and falsehood, we need a religion that challenges us to a free and responsible search for truth and meaning. In a world with so much tyranny and oppression, we need a religion that affirms the right and conscience and the use of the democratic process. In a world with so much inequity and strife, we need a religion that strives toward the goal of world community with peace, liberty, and justice for all. In a world with so much environmental degradation, we need a religion that advocates respect for the interdependent web of all existence of which we are a part. In a world with so much uncertainty and despair, we need a religion that teaches our hearts to hope and our hands to care. Welcome to worship. And please rise in mind, body, or spirit and join us for singing hymn number 42 in your gray hymnals.
Morning so fair to see, night veiled in mystery, glorious the earth and resplendent skies. Pilgrims we march along, singing our joyous song as through earthly paradise. Tall are the verdant trees, deep are the flashing seas, glorious each wonder the seasons bring. Brighter is faith's surmise, shining in pilgrims' eyes, which our waking spirits ring. Age after age we rise 'neath the eternal skies, into the light from the shadowed past. Still shall our pilgrim song, buoyant and brave and strong, resound while life and mountains last.
Thanks for the reminder of how short I am, Duncan. And now we've reached the joys and concerns portion of our service. For those of you who may be new to this community, our joys and concerns are our opportunity to hold each other in tender, loving care. We have the opportunity, thank you so much, Eleanor, we have the opportunity every Sunday to share joys and concerns either via email or text message to myself or our worship chair, Stacy Sasaki. You can also, as you can see here, write one up before service at the chancel, and whether we decide to share a joy or concern aloud, everyone is welcome to light a candle. Joanne, this is perfect. This is one that I had on my list. So the first one I'd like to share today is a joy. Carol Schnallbelt has been returned home after 18 days in rehab. Cards and calls are welcome. She is super happy to be home and is working hard to continue her rehab. She said yesterday when I visited her that people are welcome to visit as well, but please call ahead to make sure she's feeling up to it. So we are really excited to have Carol back home and working on getting up and moving again. I also want to share some news about Darcy Skinner. Darcy has been moved to hospice as of last week. No calls are not something that he really is doing, but if you would like to visit him, he's up in Escondido, and myself or Joanne can get you that information. His daughter Beth asks everyone to know that even though you're welcome to visit, he's not going to be Darcy the way that you knew him, so you just have to know going in that it's going to be a little bit different than a regular visit. So if you'd like to visit him, let us know and we can get you that information. And just as a note for all of you, I am having a very minor, nothing to worry about, surgical procedure tomorrow that I'm very excited about having. I will not be in the office on Tuesday. I am actually resting for once and taking my own advice. So I'll be back in the office on Thursday, but available on Wednesday if you need anything. And we know not all joys and concerns are shared aloud today. Whether spoken or unspoken, we hold these moments in our hearts. And I would like to invite Olivia Espinoza for our invitation for all ages.
This is a story called The Race to the Top of the Tree. Deep in the green-shadowed forest, high on the spreading branches of the great oak trees, there lived a family of squirrels. It was a very large family with parents and grandparents and great-grandparents, with dozens of aunts and uncles and nieces and nephews and hundreds of cousins. There were big squirrels and little squirrels, squirrels with light gray fur, squirrels with silver gray fur, squirrels with dark gray fur, some squirrels with a touch of brown fur on their shoulders and on their backs. They were each a little bit different, but of all the squirrels had bright, inquisitive eyes and plumes of feathery, fluffy tails that could be flicked this way and that way and from side to side. And all of the squirrels, every single one of them, from the smallest to the largest, from the lightest gray to the darkest gray, loved to climb trees. They climbed up, they climbed down, they climbed out of the branches to the very thinnest part where the branches would sway up and down, up and down, up and down, like a seesaw, only faster and higher and a lot scarier. One morning on a brisk autumn day, when the acorns were falling with a plop and a platter all over the forest, and the leaves came wafting and wafting slowly down, 3 squirrels were having a discussion about the best way to get to the top of the tree. "Straight up the trunk," said the dark gray squirrel, who was nibbling on an acorn. "But the trunk doesn't go all the way to the top," said the lightest gray squirrel, who was hanging upside down by her toes. "You have to go on the branches sometimes." "But when?" said the third squirrel, who had a silver gray touched fur with brown. "And which branch?" "That big one over there," said the dark gray squirrel. "No, the crooked one on the other side," said the light gray squirrel. "The big one," said the dark gray squirrel again. "The crooked one," said the light gray squirrel. And they got to arguing with much chittering and cheering and snipping of their teeth and snapping of their tails. "This is silly," said the gray squirrel, and finally, with a snap and a flick of her own fluffy tail, "Stop talking about it and do it. Have a race." Both the light gray and the dark gray squirrel liked that idea, and the other squirrels liked it too. They gathered at the base of the great oak tree, dozens of them, for the great race to the top of the tree. The racers waited for the start signal, and when the great-grandmother squirrel of the forest dropped an acorn and the acorn hit the ground, they were off. Squirrels going this way and squirrels going that way, squirrels everywhere. Some, including, of course, the dark gray squirrel, raced straight up the tree trunk. Some ran up to it, going around and around, climbing the tree like a corkscrew slide because that was more fun. Some squirrels didn't go up the trunk of the oak tree at all. Instead, they ran over to the big pine tree nearby and climbed up that, all the way to the top, and then made their daring leap across the open sky to reach the tip of the oak tree 15 feet away. There they clung, swaying way up and down until finally the branch stopped swaying and the squirrels could start climbing again. Now, the great oak of the forest is a very tall tree, and it is a very long climb to the top. Many of the squirrels, since they were squirrels and squirrels were always hungry, stopped to eat an acorn or two along the way. Some never made it to the pine tree. They stopped there to nibble on the pine cones, and some of the squirrels had so much fun going around and around the trunk of the tree, chasing each other, that they stopped worrying about the race at all. But the gray squirrel did go up the big branch, and the light gray squirrel did go up the crooked branch. Of all the squirrels, there were only 2 who raced and reached the very top of the tree, and they reached it just about at the same time. "It's pretty up here," the dark gray squirrel said, holding on tight to all 4 paws, with the very thin branches swaying to and fro. "Yes, it is," said the light gray squirrel, holding on tight too. "Ready to go down?" "Yes," said the dark gray squirrel. "Let's go get some acorns." And so they did. And the silver gray squirrel? Why, she didn't climb the tree at all. She stayed down on the ground the whole time. After all, she had said to herself, watching the other squirrels scampering away, it doesn't really matter how far or how fast or which way you go, or even if you go completely to a different tree. There are lots of ways to get to the top of the tree, or to the other parts of the tree, or to different trees altogether. In fact, she said, picking up an acorn between her two front paws, you don't even have to climb any tree at all, because there are plenty of good things right down here on the ground too.
Thank you so much for that, Olivia. Please rise in mind, body, or spirit to help us sing actually, I lied. We have our children's recessional first. Please join us in rising in mind, body, or spirit to sing hymn 189, Light of Ages and Nations.
Light of ages and of nations, every race and every time has received thine inspirations, glimpses of thine high truth sublime. Always spirits in rapt vision pass the heavenly veil within. Always hearts bowed in contrition found salvation from their sin. Reason's a noble aspiration, truth in growing clearness saw. Conscience spoke its condemnation or proclaimed eternal law, while thine inward revelation told thy saints their prayers were heard. Prophets to the guilty nation spoke thine everlasting word. Lo, that word abideth ever, revelation is not sealed, answering now to our endeavor, truth and right are still revealed. That which came to ancient sages, Greek, barbarian, Roman, Jew, written in the soul's deep pages, shines today forever new.
Please join me in a time of silent prayer, meditation, or reflection as I read words from Victoria Weinstein entitled, "The Church is a Body." The church is a body. May this body breathe and be together in the spirit of hope. May it feel held by comfort. Those who seek consolation, may they find it in the solace of this moment. The church is a body. It is as strong as all the people who have ever gathered within its walls. It is the power of all they dreamed and all that they have done. The church is a body. It is as vulnerable as the most newborn and untried of its members. It is ancient, and it is ever new. The church is a story. It is the story of lives that are interwoven, brought together in this place and in this time for the simple purpose of caring for one another and helping one another along the arduous path from birth to death. The church is a vision. It is a vision of unity amid diversity. It is a vision of reverence for all creation. It is a vision that beckons us beyond the concerns of our own skins. In the silence, may we abide as one body in the spirit of faith, hope, and love that is the story and the vision of this church. Amen. We're not going to walk too close to the flowers today. So this last week, I was in Cambridge. I was away at Cambridge for my first doctoral class. And one of the reasons I chose the program that I did was because it wasn't a Unitarian Universalist program. Go with me on this one. In the time that we're in, knowing what I know about Unitarian Universalism, it's not just about the people who are in the room, it's the people we want to invite into the room too, right? So for me, it felt really important if I'm going to go on this 3-year journey with all of you, because I do get to do this program and bring everything I learn straight back into the pulpit and straight back into our meetings. It felt really important to me to be able to do this with people who weren't only Unitarian Universalists, because there's value in everyone's beliefs. There's something to be taught and to be learned from all of our faiths. That's part of one of our practices as Unitarian Universalists, right? So in this week's class, there was a Presbyterian, an ELC Lutheran, a non-denominational Christian, 3 Methodists, and me. And I do get a little bit of a bizarre joy of being the token UU in any room, because we're a little confusing for people sometimes. And really, when I say a little confusing, they look at us and go, "You're what now?" And that's okay. And so it was a pastoral care class. Pastoral care in a polarized age. Whoa, do we need that right now? And the professor had a general framework, but he could hear us start to pull on different threads of things. So he would kind of let us run a little roughshod and see what happened. And part of what I get to explain whenever I tell people who we are is part of our history as being a free church. Does anyone in the room not know what a free church is? Raise your hand. Perfect, there's a few of you, so this isn't going to be like just rehearing everything. The idea of a free church dates back, like we're talking 1600s. It's the idea of dissenting from the national church. So, for example, if you were a dissenter in England, you did not respect the Church of England as your religion. You chose your own faith. That was not guaranteed by the state. So this idea of separation in church and state is very much a free church feel. So it's not just about not doing church the way the state wants you to. It means there's the responsibility of choosing how we want to do it. That includes things like congregational polity. Who was here a few weeks ago when we did our congregational meeting? You were all there because you wanted to vote and make a difference in your congregation, right? Not every church gets to do that. I know that the Catholic churches I grew up in as a kid did not let you vote for things like that. So this idea of being a free church is very much a liberal Christian feel. The Methodists have done stuff like that. The Lutherans have done stuff like that. But we actively do it all the time as UUs in a way that not every faith does. Because we live in what is called a living tradition. That's how we define Unitarian Universalism. Now, what I mean by living tradition is growing and changing as we grow and change as people. So the Unitarian Universalism of 1964 is not the Unitarian Universalism of today. We have spent time examining our biases, how we show up in the world, how racism and white supremacy culture and all sorts of things have been foundational in our faith in the past, and we've worked actively to change them over the last few years. So I spend a lot of time telling people the biggest way we live out our faith isn't by reading a sacred text. It's not by reading the right hymns. It's not by attending the right church service. It's by showing up, being there together, being in conversation and in covenant with each other, being willing to change and grow and push the bounds. And it's about being out there. Who went to the No Kings March? Most of you. Fabulous. That is Unitarian Universalism in action. Now, yes, those other faiths go and do those things too, but that is inherently part of what we do as Unitarian Universalists. We show up in the world wanting to change it and wanting to change ourselves. We do it for justice, we do it for equity, we do it for compassion, we do it because it's the right thing to do. There's nobody telling us we have to. There's no book that says that we have to. There's no song that says that we have to. We are drawn to it in our hearts and our souls in a way that some people don't think you can do without those frameworks that some other folks use. So when I say that we come from a history of being a free church, that story that Olivia told us about the squirrels, we all caught in there, right? That it was all about our choice and how there's a lot of different ways to get to the same beautiful places and that we're allowed to lean into them for ourselves. So that's one of the things about being a free church that's really important. It's the responsible search of our faith. So when I talk about responsible, what do we mean when we're talking about being responsible in a faith? I'm going to go ahead and let you sit with that for a second. Because have you ever been asked that question before? What does it mean to be responsible in your faith? Anybody that comes from another tradition probably hasn't. We have a responsibility as a free church to do our best to do no harm. We know we might. We're not perfect. We step on each other's toes when we dance, and sometimes we hurt each other. That's just part of being human. But part of our history of coming from the free church tradition is our history of covenanting, which dates back to the Cambridge Platform of 1649, something like that. Our history of covenanting and coming back into community with each other, even after we hurt each other, is part of the responsibility of being from a free church tradition. So what does that look like for our future? We know what it's looked like in the past. At the moment, we do not have a national religion that we are beholden to, so we don't have to worry about that one at the moment. Knock on wood that we don't have to. And we know what it has meant for us up to this point. We, as this community, are responsible for shaping how we show up together, whether it's in this room on a Sunday, whether it's in our bylaws, whether it's out in a march on a weekday. What does it mean for our future? What is our responsibility if we are going to remain a community that wants to see change and growth? What is our responsibility, not just to ourselves and to each other, but for the people we haven't invited into the room yet? That can look like a lot of things. And I'm so grateful every week when I walk in the room and I see welcoming, loving, accepting people. When I first got here, there was a question about my hair, whether or not it was going to stay this color. I dyed it a few months ago. When it turned purple again, the response I got was, "Oh, thank God she's back." And that's just one really small way to show how we get to do this life together, how we get to love each other in every single version of ourselves. And my favorite thing about Unitarian Universalism, the thing that drew me to it when I needed it, I was allowed to show up in all of my brokenness. No one tried to fix me. No one told me I needed to be fixed. They said, "You come as you are, and we love you all the same." And I think that's the most foundational thing about living into being a Unitarian Universalist. You are enough, just as you are. And you will be enough here with us together. And even in our brokenness and our imperfections, we can still change the world. Because we don't need perfection to do that. What we need is people who are willing to get their hands dirty and to do the hard work of loving each other. Because sometimes loving each other is really hard, isn't it? And we don't have a text to fall back on that reminds us how we should love each other, although some of us do. We have more than one option for that. One of my classmates asked me, "Well, if you guys don't use the Bible, what do you use?" And I smiled and I looked at him and I said, "Andrew, you said you like reading C.S. Lewis, right?" He goes, "I do." And I said, "How many times have you found comfort in The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe?" And he said, "My whole life." And I said, "Great. That's how we find our faith too. It's in the manifestations of humanity wherever we find them. Is that the Bible? Is that a scientific text? Is that a novel? Is it a poem? Is it a prayer?" There are so many ways that we get to show up as Unitarian Universalists because we come from that tradition of being allowed to choose how we show up together, how we show up for each other, and how we show up in the world. For some people, that's not quite enough spirituality, and that's okay. We're not an easy religion sometimes. Sometimes we're a complex faith because we have what feels like unlimited options. So as you take this out with you today and you think about the things that are spiritually meaningful to you, whether that's a text or a song or a chant or a protest, whatever that is, I encourage you this week to think about why those things are meaningful for you. Because it is such a blessing to be in this faith. It really is. And we have some really good news to share with people if we can figure out how to tell those stories in ways that are just as meaningful for their ears that might not know how to do that translation work yet. Because that's really part of why I took this, I chose this program, was more translation work. When they say God, I hear spirit. I hear love. I hear compassion. So even though the word God doesn't always work for me, I can hear those words and I can pull on those threads the same way. And that's one of the really, really great things about being from a free tradition, is that we have the space and encouragement, and we encourage each other to find those translations, to find those sparkly moments, and to approach them together, to help build our community authentically from ourselves and what we believe, not from what somebody else tells us to. So as you go out this week, I encourage you to find those sparkly little threads of tapestry and start pulling on them together. And just see what happens. Because because that is something about Unitarian Universalism that I think is one of the best things we have to offer to the world. But we have to offer it to them. So may it be, and amen.
Thank you, Casey. Your Sunday morning offering is a gift that provides Summit Unitarian Universalist Fellowship the financial resources to help build a better world together. Any size gift is welcome. In your order of service, there is a QR code for those of you who would like to pay digitally. And for those of you online on Zoom, the link can be found in the chat box or the virtual order of service. Please select the Sunday plate option to allocate your donation for the appropriate account.
Johann Sebastian Bach was a very devout Lutheran, and his faith was so much at the core of his music. And it's thinking about where our traditions come from and all the diversity of it. I have an interesting story to share, that during COVID, I found that his music really comforted me on this very, very deep level. And Karen Follingstad says the same thing, and so many of my musician friends told me that Bach really spoke to them. And, you know, the idea of music being part of your faith, I think, you know, anybody who's really gone deep into music gets that it's all one.
Please stand as you are willing and able to join us in hymn number 118 in the gray hymnal, This Little Light of Mine.
This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. Let it shine, let it shine, let it shine. Everywhere I go, I'm gonna let it shine. Everywhere I go, I'm gonna let it shine. Everywhere I go, I'm gonna let it shine, let it shine, let it shine, let it shine. Building up a world, I'm gonna let it shine. Building up a world, I'm gonna let it shine. Building up a world, I'm gonna let it shine, let it shine, let it shine, let it shine.
Thanks for taking us to church with that one. I love when you get a little dancey with our music. I'm not saying there is no wrong way to be a Unitarian Universalist. There's always a wrong way to do something. But I am saying that one of the beautiful things about our faith is that we get to choose how we show up in the world as Unitarian Universalists. We do it every Sunday. We do it every day of the week, some of us, hopefully all of us. When we are building up that world and letting it shine through our love and our compassion and the way we hold ourselves in these places because of the history that we have that allows us the space to do that, we are doing the really good work in the world. People keep asking me what they can do in this time of uncertainty, and 100% of the time, the best thing we could be doing right now is loving each other and loving this world unabashedly without any reason not to, because we are worth loving. We deserve love inherently as people on this earth, and the best way to go out and resist any of the terror or the fear or anxiety is through love and joy. And I see that every Sunday in this room, and I hope you take it out and let it shine every day. Amen, shalom, salam, ashe, namaste, and blessed be. Go now in peace. May the light within you be a blessing to the world.
We extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts until we are together again. We will have a brief, 15-minute break, and then we will come together for circle discussion after we do our closing circle song. So please stand and join hands for the closing circle song.